can't remember. Fair enough. All right, let's get some more questions going. Right there, please.
One of the things I've always been very impressed with the film is the rapport between actors. Like, there's some very subtle performances going on that you guys work very well together. I'm just very curious about how much time you guys spent in rehearsal, what that entire process was.
Want to know about the time spent on rehearsals for the actors and what that process was like?
Yeah, I think you're right. I especially noticed in Fuchs' performance how subtle it was, how nuanced his performance was, and Richard Mazer also as Clark. We got 2 weeks, which is very rare these days because of the cost of films. The only other film, well, I did 2 other pictures, Clan of the Cape Bear and Justice for All with Al Pacino, where they gave us 2 weeks of rehearsal, and it makes a huge difference. You know, because you cannot replace time. Time is the one thing you can't force or coerce. It just is. And the more time you spend with someone, obviously, the more intimately you get to know them, and therefore when you play with them, because acting is very much like playing jazz. You know sort of the notes you're going to play, but it's how you play them according to what the other guy gives you. And we had 2 weeks, but you know, that 2 weeks, we all hung out together and got to know each other, and we went to the Yankees game when they were in town playing the Dodgers. I think that John was kind of at the top of his game, so he could command 2 weeks of rehearsal. But the logistics of the film business have changed considerably. The cost is so astronomical to do a film that to hire actors for 2 weeks and have them rehearse is almost prohibitive at this point, which is a terrible shame, because you get so much more as the audience. We forget that the movies are for you guys. They're not for the studios. They're not for the stars. They're for you guys, the audience, the regular guy that, you know, works hard and wants to be entertained. And I feel that if I were to run a studio, I would let actors rehearse a lot more.
I know there were more hands out there. Right there.
You're a Destiny? Is that you? Or somebody else?
No,
Tell us about shooting that death scene. That's a pretty slimy scene.
Yeah, that was a hard scene. It was at the end of a long, very tough day. And we were in Los Angeles, and John said, you know, it's going to be a tough day for you. That was me. You know, being picked up and tossed around and thrown around. And I didn't want anyone else to do it. I insisted that I do it. And I'm kind of glad I did, because watching it tonight, I realized, you know, that's painful to watch. The poor guy, you know. And the funniest thing about the whole thing is I named the character Windows. His name was Simmons. And I was hanging out in New York after I knew I had the part. And I heard these 2 black guys in the corner, and they were smoking a joint. And they were like, one guy had glasses on. He's like, hey, Windows, come here, man. Windows, come on over here, man. I thought, what a cool name, Windows. So I went into John and I said, can I change the character's name and wear these green glasses and call him Windows? And they said, yeah, that's a cool idea. So it's so funny to hear everybody go, where's Windows? I don't do Windows.